Hey everybody, today on Political Access we're going to do another community poll recap. So these are just the polls that are at least a month old that are on my community tab. I try to put one up every few days. I respond to a lot of the comments. Sometimes it's nice just to see other people have a conversation. So let's do a recap on whatever political or cultural questions I asked. So the furthest one back here is, what is your opinion on congressional term limits? And we have 55% strongly support, another 23% support, only 4% strongly oppose, with another 6% that just oppose. 13% are neutral, and I suspected this would get a lot of support. And again, a lot of these do have some good comments. This one I don't have a strong opinion on. I'm more neutral on it because I can understand both sides. Keeping the same politicians in there entrenched for decades, that type of establishment is not going to be healthy. But then again, if people do want to support the same candidate forever, getting new voices in there every so often, that's going to have pros and cons. But then, of course, it can get out of hand in the other direction, where political incumbents are just purely in there to protect themselves. Now, the next question, keeping with the term limit theme, is what's your opinion on U.S. Supreme Court term limits? This one still has strong support, 50%, another 15% support, 14% strongly opposed, 9% opposed, 12% are neutral. Now, this question does leave a little bit up to your imagination. What would the term limits be? When would they be implemented? Would it be retroactive? A lot of people talk about 18-year term limits. Some people might say 12. Some people might say 20. There's a lot of different ideas floating around out there about the Supreme Court, but I wanted to compare these results to the congressional term limits, and still clear support, but a little bit less so than for Congress. And then we could go back one more, and then I threw in a question about presidential term limits just to see how they would compare to the two previous. And this has the most support, 71% strongly support, only 3% strongly oppose, total 6% oppose, 86% are in favor. That's not a surprise. It's been a constitutional amendment for a while now. It doesn't seem to be that politically charged, so most people are going to support it. So generally there's across-the-board support for term limiting elected officials, including the appointed justices on the Supreme Court. Not much of a surprise, but I'd like to see the results. The next question is, what will happen with Mitt Romney in the 2024 Senate election? 12% think he's going to retire, 27% think he will lose in the GOP primary, 3% think he'll win that GOP primary but lose in the general. And the most popular answer here, 58% think he's going to win the primary and the general. 1% think something else will happen. It's a little bit far off. There's been a lot of talk about Mitt Romney getting a primary challenger. He's from a state where he's probably going to be favored, but he has made some enemies during his Senate term. A lot of it's probably going to be forgotten about by the time the primary rolls around, but I would still expect him to face a primary challenger. It's early. I think he'd win, but you never know. And the next question is, will George Santos resign? 20% yes, 80% no. At this point, it seems like he's not going to resign. If he was going to do it, I think it would have happened already. But you never know. Maybe the pressure mounts during the summer. Maybe new revelations come out, and he wants to step down before he has to face his next primary. And that's if he actually runs again. That's going to be a great primary. I think he would have to lose that for sure. But as I always say, you never know. Next we have, is there any chance Ronna McDaniel loses re-election as RNC chair? She won re-election, so there's not much to say about it, but 14% said no chance, 44% small chance, 42% decent chance, and she got about 2/3 of the vote, so it really wasn't that close. But there was some talk prior to that election as to if she was vulnerable or not. Turns out, not really. Next question, what is your opinion on making Puerto Rico a state? 40% strongly support, 19% support, 15% neutral, 9% opposed, 17% strongly opposed. This is kind of a follow-up to a previous question I did about making D.C. a state. That one had a combined 31% support, 60% oppose. These results are very different. A combined 59% support, 26% oppose. So it's an interesting conversation to have. My views on additional states in general, regardless of where it is, appears to be outside the mainstream. I'm perfectly content staying at 50 states, but I understand other people have other arguments, and reasonable people can disagree. But I actually thought that the opposition would be a little less than D.C., but not this much less. I did not think that there would be a clear majority of support. That's why I do these polls, to see where people are at. The next question is, who's more likely to lose in 2024, Sherrod Brown or Jon Tester? I think this is a great question because I think both of these states are going to be tough for the Democrats to hold. If the national environment is even neutral, Republicans are going to have a good chance to flip these. Now, they've been known to blow it, so who knows? But with these two candidates, Sherrod Brown is from the redder trending state of Ohio, and he's won pretty comfortably in his 3 previous elections. Jon Tester, he's also won 3 elections previously, but those margins were pretty narrow, low single digits. And now we know that Jon Tester is running again. Of course, he could change his mind. So I'm actually torn on this myself. I could see it going either way. If Tester wins, it's only going to be by a couple of points. Probably the same for Sherrod Brown. We got to wait and see what happens on the Republican side. But I'm not counting out Sherrod Brown just because Ohio is trending toward the right. But 65% of you think it's going to be Brown. 35% think it's going to be Tester. Great results. We'll see what happens. Next question, how concerned are you about declining standards or qualifications in the name of equity? 52% very concerned, 21% concerned, 10% neutral, 8% unconcerned, 9% very unconcerned. I don't have a lot to say about this. This one didn't get as many votes as some of the other polls, and it can be tough to word this type of question, but I know I've heard so many stories over the past 5 to 10 years about how standards should be changed, whether it's in the military, whether it's with testing, whether it's qualifications for small businesses or hiring practices. It's unfortunate to me that the identity of who succeeds the most is viewed as a problem, so I'm not into that. Seems like most of you also express some concern about that. Next question, how important is the State of the Union address? 14% very, 33% moderately, 21% slightly, 32% not important. I would vote slightly myself. It's a somewhat significant political event, even though a lot of people are going to tune it out, especially a week or 2 later. Then it seems to not matter at all, and it's especially politicized these days. It's all about, did this side clap at this moment? And I'm not really interested in that. The speech itself, it's usually all about highlighting any successes, completely downplaying any negatives, full confidence and aspiration for the future, and how we can never change directions, etc. So there's a limited appeal there, but I don't think it's completely useless. Next question, more likely 2024 Republican Senate pickup. 18% say Michigan, 82% say Wisconsin. This I thought would be more balanced. Debbie Stabenow in Michigan, she's retiring. That means it's an open seat, and I know the Republicans did not have a lot of success there in the midterms, but in Wisconsin they're going up against a 2-term Democrat running for a 3rd, but I guess that state is a little bit more purple than Michigan, so it seems like people are already writing off the Republicans in Michigan. I would think because it's an open seat, this would at least be worth asking about, and I would have expected these results to be closer. And the last question is, more likely 2024 Senate pickup for the Democrats, Florida or Texas? We have 14% Florida, 86% say Texas. This I found to be interesting as well. I thought this would be closer. My guess is because Republicans had such a great performance in Florida in the midterms that I think Rick Scott is viewed as unbeatable, and Ted Cruz in Texas, he's unlikable. The state is going the opposite direction of Florida, so they view Cruz as more vulnerable. To me, I got to see more data out of Florida. I got to see another cycle. I want to see if the trends continue. I don't think Rick Scott is really all that popular. I don't think he's really all that likable. The elections he's won have been by extremely narrow margins. There's no way Democrats are just going to roll over on this one. They're going to put up a candidate. Maybe it's Stephanie Murphy. And I do think Rick Scott would be favored if it is him as the nominee, but I don't think he would win by 10 points or anything. As of now, I think he might struggle to even win by 5. Now, for me, it's kind of similar with Cruz. I think he's favored. He could win by over 5, but it's debatable. We got to see who the Democrats put up there in Texas. And maybe Cruz decides to end up retiring anyway. But again, that's why I put up these polls. Sometimes I'm surprised by the results. Sometimes there's some good comments. This one has 82 comments. That's phenomenal. So anyway, I will leave it there for now. I appreciate the votes. I appreciate a lot of the comments. Even if I don't respond, keep at it. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll keep putting these up every several days. I try to do different topics. I try to keep it relatively unbiased. So let me know in the comments. Do you enjoy these polls? Do you enjoy these results? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.